Hello, good morning again. It is still October 20th, 2019. Hope you're doing well this morning. Um, it occurred to me that we never answered that question. What do I know? Or what do you know? And oh, we kind of we touched on other aspects of that idea, but we didn't really get into that specific question and the answer to that question. So it's funny because I guess we all have our individual experiences that form our conclusions and our belief systems, and what is my truth is not your truth, and vice versa. And it sounds so new agey or whatever, but that really is the truth of it. What goes on in my reality and the way I filter my experiences is all very, very, very unique and individual to me. And that's why, that's why it's so easy to judge other people, because whenever we're judging other people, we gotta realize, well, we don't gotta realize anything, but it's good to understand that we haven't even walked, not even a second, in their shoes. And even if we have had similar experiences to other people, and sometimes the things that we say resonate with each other, and we feel like a connection, still our perception of the experience, who we were at the time, so to speak, and all of that played into our experience as well as the other person's. And so even then, you can't judge, or it's not. It's, to me, it's really silly to judge other people, and that's not to say that we see, you see somebody who's always in kind found themselves in some kind of a mess, and just they've become proficient at making poor choices in life. You can observe that, say, oh, okay, so this and that happened, and you did this and this and that, blah blah blah, and here we are again. There's, we're gonna observe the things that are happening in people's lives around us, but it's just, but that's not the same as judging. And judging is, well, you ought to know better, and you should have done this. You did this wrong, and just kind of stepping into their life with our experiences and our conditioning to solve their life for them. And guess what? There's a long line of people waiting to do the same thing to us, right? Or there could be, if that's the way this world is working, then we can all be pointing fingers at each other. So it is subjective as far as, based on everything that's brought me to this moment. What I know is mine, and to insist that someone else adopt my opinions and my ideas, that's really, well, why don't you wear my clothes and eat all the foods I like and read the books that I enjoy. And why don't we just do the whole thing then? You see, that sounds silly, but it's the same principle. Whereas, because we don't think of ideas as things, but they are. They're very much. We know, we discussed it in the other installments, just what a role ideas place in our lives, or at least we touched on it. These formulations, that the conclusions that we've drawn, those are the things. Ideas are what those are our motivation in the world. Why do we do what we do? It's based on our belief systems and the conclusions that we've drawn. So anyway, still didn't answer that question. What do I know? If we ask ourselves that question, I can tell you my own experience. It may or may not be helpful or beneficial, or it could be a complete waste of time for you, in which case you can just turn this off now. But it's funny because what I knew yesterday, or what I thought I knew yesterday, almost quite literally, today, it's like the slate is wiped clean of that. It's like, that worked yesterday, but that's not going to work today. Or this was good for that situation, but if that situation comes up again, there's another way that will present itself, perhaps, that will be a better solution in that situation. So that's a thing that, so for me, I'm sorry, I'm so choppy. And I know I always say, and I apologize for that. It's a word whisker that I'm having a hard time getting rid of. But the other thing for me is that, okay, this is kind of multi-layered. Like we mentioned, what worked yesterday may not work today, because life is movement. Life is always moving, and things are shifting all around us, whether or not we can feel that or perceive that. That's what's happening. And so I could probably count on one hand, maybe even a couple of fingers, the things that I believe, the things that I feel that I know. There's not a long list, because what worked yesterday, if it doesn't work anymore, if it won't work anymore, then it's just wait. If I want to continue to utilize that idea or that solution, and just kind of make it fit different situations. Does that make sense to you guys? So let's see if we can make it any more clear. I don't want to make this too drawn out. Like we said, life is movement and situations, and no, excuse my tummy, I have to eat still. Just like that saying, no river is ever the same river, right? And you can go down to that river, whatever it's called, and it's going to be a different river than when you went an hour earlier, right? So that's how life is. And so the situations, although the river looks the same, even though the situation seems like the same thing that happened last week or last year, it's not the same river anymore. It is not actually the same situation, because if we have, because we have changed, and everybody has changed, and for better or for worse, for this or that, everything has changed. The whole world has changed. The planet is not in the same space and time anymore that it was. And so when we are just living in the moment with each breath, the breath that I took a minute ago, it's used up. I can't go back and get it anymore, and there's no reason to do that. The breath that I need right now, I just drew in, and there it went, right? And that's so for me, that's how, at least right now, that's kind of how I move around in this place, is just feeling the situation and calling on something like wisdom or something like real perception beyond the conditioning beyond my conditioning, beyond my personal blah, 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 blah. Just really to feel into situations and allow life to help us to respond to each situation as a brand new situation. That is really much more of a challenge than to have a rule book that says, okay, if this happens, do this. There you go. If that happens, you also do that. And applying these old whatevers to something brand new, life in the moment. So it's difficult sometimes to articulate the ideas, but hopefully that made some sense to someone out there. So that would be my answer to the question, what do I know? Is pretty much nothing. It's on a need to know basis, basically. And so it is more challenging because it's very it's a willingness to be open and not having such a tight grip on everything, not having such control, or what we believe to be control over things, to just realize we are part of this thing. We're not separate, and everything is moving, moving, moving. And so if we're part of it, us being willing to flow and move in it is, in my own experience, is more helpful to me, to just kind of move in it and allow it to move through me. And sorry if that sounds so hokey and whatever, but that's just my experience. So hopefully this has been helpful to someone out there, and hope so anyway. So with that, we're gonna grab something to eat and shut this tummy up. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye bye.